Hello everybody, and as always, welcome to my channel. My name is Brian Hussar, and this is where I always talk about my passions of the Beatles, music, movies, and musical theater. Please click that subscribe button as always. And you knew I was going to talk about it. I bet you were waiting, anticipating. I doubt it. But why not? So here it is. Egypt Station. The new Macca. The new Paul McCartney. Now, I will say that I was skeptical at first when this album was going to come out. Surprisingly, I'm not a fan of 2013's New. I don't know what it is about that album, but I've never cared to listen to it. I put it on and I get bored with it. I don't know why. I mean, individually the songs are good. It's like I have to force myself to play it from beginning to end. And of course we all know the third single from Egypt Station, For You. I was a bit, but I liked the first two, as I explained when I did my video on that. So what was this album going to be like? When stuff got out about it, I got excited about it, just because it's a sort of a concept album. It's an album to be heard from beginning to end, that he was doing a good old-fashioned put this on, drop the needle, or put the CD in the CD tray and insert it, put the headphones on and listen to it from beginning to end. And what do I think about this? I was starting to buy into a lot of groups on Facebook, a big one I belong to, where people were saying like people were trying to spot weak tracks left and right. And I wasn't that way, but I was still skeptical of, is this going to be a good album? Now I got the vinyl, and I got the CD. Yes, I could have downloaded. I could have used the download card, and I did for the phone. But I got the vinyl and the CD, and I have to tell you, I like this album a lot. Now I played the vinyl quite a bit. It hasn't left my turntable, and I've been alternating between the vinyl and the CD. And I really like this album. I'm not going to go over all the individual tracks here because that's just going to take too long, but I will tell you a couple things. I expressed how much I loved the first two singles, Come On To Me and I Don't Know. For You, I did not initially like, but in the context of the album, I now have to say I've turned around on it. I think it's a really catchy tune. It's a novelty tune in the vein of Why Don't We Do It in the Road, basically. What I like about this album is the fact that I don't think on this album Paul cared about his legacy. I don't think he cared about what he did with the Beatles. I don't think he cared about, is it going to be as good as Band on the Run or Venus and Mars. I think he just went in with this idea that I want to make an album to be an album. And his last previous albums, you know, Chaos and Creation in the Backyard, Memory Almost Full to a certain extent, even though it does have that 5-song suite at the end, or 6-song suite, and New, were all about creating potential singles. And this one, I don't think he was looking at it that way. I think he was honestly looking at creating an album to be heard from start to finish, and how some of these songs would be friends with each other on the album. And he succeeded. I mean, a couple things that I've heard. It begins with Opening Station, which is a nice ambient piece of train station sound effects and a beautiful choir piece. It segues into I Don't Know. I did hear some people say I Don't Know is not a strong opener. It should have been Come On To Me. I have to disagree there. I think I Don't Know is a perfect opener coming out of that intro. It's kind of setting the scene. It's the prologue before the play. Come On To Me begins and you see the curtain open. And I think it would have been expected for Come On To Me to do that. So I think he did something deliberately. And I Don't Know is probably one of the least McCartney sounding songs ever. But a couple of my favorite songs on this album, I will say, is I Don't Know I love Happy With You, which sounds like it's a tribute to his new wife, Nancy. I love Dominoes. It's just the message. It's got such a great chorus. The piece I really love on here is Despite Repeated Warnings, which a lot of people are saying is Macca's political song. I think that's a bit of a stretch. I think people are trying to read things into the lyrics that potentially aren't there. But I like the fact that it's this a day in the life, Band on the Run, Uncle Albert, Admiral Halsey mini opera. Tells a pretty interesting story. If it is political, well, it's still an interesting story. I think people are reading too much into that lyric. Hand in Hand is another one that some people said is a weak track on this album, but I'm like, no, how can you deny that melody? How can you really deny that melody? That's got such a beautiful melody. And I love the flute solo in that. I mean, back in Brazil, I actually like that tune, even though the Ichiban, 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 Ban, Ban chorus thing, chant thing that's in there, you scratch your head, you're talking about Brazil and you're saying Ichiban. But I think that's part of what I like about the song is that it doesn't make any sense. I'm sure that's why Paul stuck it in there, you know. I could just imagine if he was in his 20s, he and John writing that song, they'd probably have a giggle over that. Let's see if people go and read something into that. Overall, I have not stopped playing this album. It's been like, it ends. I take a break, I'll put the darn CD in. Take a break, put the vinyl back on. I think this is a very good album, and I'm almost hesitant to say this because some people I know will disagree. But I want to call this a late career masterpiece. I mean, I couldn't call Memory almost full a masterpiece, even though I liked it. Chaos and Creation I thought was great. New, there's something about New that, again, I can't wrap my head around. I don't know what it is, but it's like, I think, in my opinion, on New, he was coasting. He was coasting. He was doing stuff people expected of him. I like this album because it's melodic. The songs are of decent length, with the exception of Despite Repeated Warnings and the medley at the end, Hunt You Down, Naked, and C-Link, which has got a beautiful bluesy guitar solo, which I think was played by Macca. But other than that, all the songs are average pop song length, but there's a melody, and it really does grow on you. And it hit me as soon as I put it on, and I'm not so much of a Macca fanboy that I think everything he does is gold. I mean, I don't. This, I personally think, is a winner. And if certain people aren't liking the whole thing now, I guarantee you in 20 years, like a Ram or something like that, people will like it. And there's a lot of reviews here I see on YouTube where people are actually praising it. So, Egypt Station, definitely a winner from Paul McCartney. Definitely a winner. That's my take. And until we meet again.